Hello, my name is Craig Mill and I'm the Assistive Technology Advisor at Call Scotland. Call Scotland is part of Edinburgh University and we're based in Edinburgh. So for this video presentation, I'd like to tell you a bit about some of the resources that we've been developing, in particular some of the guides, the posters, infographics, wheels of apps that have been very popular. And I'd like to tell you a bit about how, or explain how we came to using the apps or choosing the apps that we've used, and look at some video resources as well to accompany the wheels of apps and the posters. So sit back and I hope you find this useful. Okay, thank you. So to start, I'd first of all like to give you a bit of background of Call Scotland. CALL stands for Communication, Access, Literacy and Learning, and we are a team of 10. A mix of engineers, speech and language therapists, teachers and administrators, and we cover the whole of Scotland, advising on how technology can support learners with a range of additional support needs. There is a huge amount of information and resources on the CALL website, but for this presentation I would like to signpost you to some of our more popular resources, which are our illustrated posters that focus on a variety of built-in tools for different devices. I suppose you can call them infographics, and of course not forgetting our wheel of apps, which are very popular. There are also accompanying videos which I will highlight later. So this is a page to some of the downloads, and here's the link, and you can see the breadcrumb trail here. In relation to the iPad guides, which are by far the most popular downloads, I would like to give you some context behind why we started collating the apps. Not long after iPads were first released, I think it was back in 2010, and the App Store was gaining in popularity, there was lots of lists of apps started appearing and circulating on email lists and forums. And while the lists were initially helpful to discern from the thousands of apps that were appearing on the App Store, at CALL we felt we needed something more than just a bunch of endless list of apps. So in 2012 we published a 176-page book called iPads for Communication, Access, Literacy and Learning, which rather than offer just a list of apps, contextualised the use of apps in teaching and learning and identified specific additional support needs, such as communication support, literacy, visual impairment, as well as a range of iPad accessories, cases, pointer devices, and the built-in tools which were quite limited compared to today. Of course, the danger of writing an iPad book is that when the next iOS update is released, the book quickly becomes outdated. But despite my efforts of releasing an updated book in 2014 to reflect iOS 7, it also quickly became outdated. Being a small team with so many other responsibilities, it became impossible to regularly update the book. So my colleague Alan Wilson devised the first poster, A Wheel of Apps, which was iPad apps for learners with dyslexia. Apps were categorised into different areas of support needs: reading, writing, memory, organisation, and then subcategorised into specific apps for different tasks: word processing, text-to-speech, talking books, etc. Most of the apps at the time were included because they were developed by assistive software developers who had a long tradition of developing Windows and to some extent Mac support or Mac support software such as Claro, Clicker, Inspiration, Don Johnson and Co-Writer, so we knew these would be tried and tested apps. But there was also a new generation of apps by new developers, unheard of before now. So most of our decision making was based on feedback from other users. Feedback, for example, from a variety of email forums such as Quiet, That's the US-based Quality Indicators for Assistive Technology. And at the time, many of their apps were available in light format or free trial format, so we were able to try before purchasing. At Call, we tend to use Joy Zabala's SET framework. SET is an acronym for Student Environments, Tasks and Tools. So an acronym for Student Environment, Task and Tools, where the learner is placed at the centre using a collaborative approach. For example, using the SET scaffold data gathering form, we could identify the learner's needs, the tools they used in context to their environment and tasks. This format would help to eliminate apps while identifying those which would be most appropriate. I also tend to use a couple of app evaluation rubrics to decide the relevance of an app. These ones here in particular were released by the Edinburgh Digital team quite a few years ago. There are two, one for subject-specific apps and the other for content creation. But also if you were to do a quick online search for app evaluation rubrics, there are many others. With the amazing success of the Dyslexia Wheel of Apps, thousands and thousands of downloads in the first week with positive feedback, it made sense to continue with this format rather than attempting to continually update the iPad book. I then started to create a series of how-to guides, infographics, with the focus being on the accessible built-in tools. So there are iPad guides to support dyslexia, visual impairment, physical difficulties, as well as some of the pre-installed apps such as Notes. There is also a guide on accessibility for the Chromebook. I won't go through all the posters here, instead you can peruse them at your own leisure. But I would like to draw your attention to a couple of longer guides I've created under the book section. The first is What's New in iOS 11? Now, I realise it's very dated, but when iOS 11 was released, they also released some really good new features added to accessibility, so it's worth a read. And also a guide to word prediction, which covers not only Windows prediction programs, but also a whole range of iOS prediction apps. Something that was missing from the infographics was that although they highlighted the available tools in a device, the posters didn't explain how to access and use them. This prompted me to create a series of video guides to supplement the posters. The most recent being 12 video tutorials using the iPad to support literacy. This concludes my video presentation. I hope you found it useful, and if you would like more information, please don't hesitate to get in touch at info@callscotland.org.uk or myself at craig.mill@ed.ac.uk.